it, I just seem to see the world different. It ain't Republicans or labor rules, it's mental illness. The internet is only interested in left opinions. Cancel culture's got more power lately than the First Amendment. If you don't like it, leave. We will not defund police. We don't want no riots in our neighborhoods or in the streets. We respect freedom of speech. We protect what we believe. We don't want nobody dead, so please do not tread on me. In America, if freedom ain't free. In America, got soldiers dying overseas. So America, you can say what we believe. My America, I won't ever take a knee. Our freedom is the reason you can disrespect our flag. If my stars and stripes offend you, then I'll help you pack your bags. America.
Good morning! Evening, I mean, New Jersey. It is June 20th. This is not a coinky-dink. You are right where you are supposed to be. You are at the corner of church and state where there is no separation. How y'all doing? This is your friendly neighborhood bearded weirdo coming at you loud and proud as I always do, and with this magnificence upon my face.
It's not so magnificent.
To my left.
It's really
yeah,
not
no, today it's a little.
It's not that magnificent today.
Yeah, I need to do more work. But you hear him over here grumbling, fumbling, and mumbling over here. He is my best friend, my compadre. He also happens to be my pastor. He is the one, the only, the Pastor Gary Stiles.
No.
Man, wait
I'm just messing. No, I'm doing it on purpose. Gary Podosek. Doing it on purpose.
No.
I'm in a mood. I'm in a weird one.
He hasn't.
And then behind the curtain, the man pushing all our buttons.
Wrong or right.
Wrong or right. He is Steve Cattell. How you guys doing on this Tuesday?
Fantastic. I'm doing fantastic.
It's been today was one. It was just a rough one at work, but we have a good one. We have a special episode for you guys. We are going to talk about, if you already can't tell by the title, Lockdown Generation. And who is the Lockdown Generation? Well, it ain't us Xennials, because that's what we are. It ain't the Millennials, because they need their safe spaces. They already locked themselves down.
Xennials?
Xennials. Xennials sounds like it's a Z.
No, but it's pronounced Xennials.
Nope, Xennials.
I disagree with you wholeheartedly.
Huh?
It is pronounced Xennial.
It's Gen X.
I know it's Gen X and Millennials, but I mean, we're more Gen X than Millennial anyway, but it doesn't matter.
Anyway.
They literally made a subcategory because we don't fit.
It's going to be a 6-hour episode, folks.
We're going long.
No, it won't, and no, it won't.
And we're going long form like Rogan.
I will eat him. I will literally eat him. I will regret every moment of it, but I will eat him.
Anyway, we're going to talk about the lockdown generation. That is Gen Zers. They're the ones that, can't seem to get off their pooters anymore. Well, actually, they were forced.
What pooter?
Score. Well, yeah, their phone. They were forced to go to school.
You guys can't see it. It's blah blah blah.
He's got the evil
It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter.
It's got that chewed apple on it.
It doesn't matter.
But people want to just brush under the rug the fact that, not to mention just how illegal and harmful the lockdowns were to adults and the amount of suicides and divorces it caused. But what kind of damage has it done to the Gen Zers? The ones that, some of them started kindergarten in the lockdowns.
Well, they wouldn't be the Gen Zs.
Huh?
They wouldn't be the Gen Zs. The kindergarten kids wouldn't be Gen Zs.
They don't have.
They don't have a category for them.
No. If you look up Gen Z, the years for it, Gen Z is 96 and on. They haven't ended Gen Z yet.
That's stupid.
So yeah, I know. It's things like,
because they ran out of letters.
They're
at Z.
So anyway,
you're gonna have to go into colors.
So
Gen Blue.
Then they could just walk around singing "I'm Blue."
I mean, look, I guess.
The damage that,
as long as they don't want to be
them,
like Gen Topaz.
The fact that they don't know how to talk socially, can they breathe after having masks all over their faces for 3 years? Sad to say that their millennial parents were the ones that pushed all this crap on them, and some Gen Xer parents who had kids late. But really, what is the effect? And we're bringing in a guest, a guy that we've known pretty well for a number of years. Actually used to attend our church and everything else. a man by the by the name of Micheal Beckford, and we're going to ask him some questions because his ministry that he works on, we're going to have him come on and explain exactly what it is that they do, is focused on the Gen Zers. And I really want to know, how hard is it now to bring the gospel to them because of these lockdowns? They want to stay at home. They're afraid to do things. They're so easily just believing whatever the government wants to tell them and becoming activists for the government, not against the crap the government is pulling. So let's bring him in here. Mike Beckford.
Yo, what up, guys? How we doing?
I wanted to create a stinger, but I couldn't find the picture I wanted. Because 2 years ago, I wish I could have found it, but I think you deleted it. 2 years ago, during, the Fakedemic, you put up a picture where I know for a fact I called you Mr. T without golden feathers. I wanted to find it because he did look like Mr. T. But we're not there. So how you doing today, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic, guys. How are you guys doing?
Very well.
Today, every day you wake up with breath in your lungs is a good day.
That's right. That's
Oh,
right.
unless
And let
you-
me tell you, that intro is fire. I was popping when I saw it. That's the first one. I was like, okay.
That's our buddy
that was
Tom.
good.
That's
So,
Tom
buddy, Tom
MacDonald.
MacDonald.
We actually got permission. Well, he gave
Anybody
permission to use his
so
song for
go for it, have fun.
for streaming and Twitch and stuff like that.
That
So,
was cool.
really cool guy, independent rapper.
Yeah.
Can be foul sometimes, but he's spitting truth.
He is spitting. I've seen his stuff back in like 2020, 2021. Yeah, it's cool.
So tell us, brother. First, let's start. What is the name of the ministry that you're working with now, and B, what is it you guys do?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So the ministry that we're working with right now is called Free in Faith. Free in Faith. And the whole concept was birthed from the fact that so many Gen Z are starting to open their Bibles, right? And then even open their eyes and feel like the conventional church just isn't for them. They just don't see the connection when they read like the book of Acts or they read anything in the New Testament and go like, why does my church feel so different? So what happens is they're like, I don't even want to go to church anymore. They start questioning, do I need church to have a relationship with God? Do I need church to go to heaven? And now we're in this middle ground. So the ministry was really birthed from the fact that the conventional church, even the like modern church today that's like striving to become the next you name it church, they're even breaking away from that. They just want God because they're so broken. And whether they'll say it like that or not, they know they need something deeper than what they've had before, Christian or not. Church, as we know it, isn't the answer for them.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is a relationship with God, to be in church, but a real Bible-believing church and where the Spirit of the God is flowing. So we are in a place right now where we are gathering in different places in South Jersey. We're at like, God has opened so many doors. There's like a barn in Glassboro, and literally a little barn that's like a beautiful upper room that was designed for like weddings and different events. The people who own it were like, y'all can come here. We go to people's houses. We have other locations, and we're going to start moving up towards Central and North Jersey and just gather and let the presence of God just flow, and then people come. It's a beautiful thing.
Cool. That is very awesome. That is very awesome. Meeting in the upper room. I like that.
Seriously, literally, yeah.
So how are the relationships though that you're connected with the people there and all that stuff? Because I would like just in the sense of like a thought of a church moving around a bunch. Is it hard for people to stay connected, or is that more because of that generation? Like they stay connected through social media and stuff like that.
Yeah, you got it, Gary. It literally is that. Like we all stay connected online. We have people who are going to, and a big place that we operate in is Rowan University. Like we meet there. Literally, we do Bible studies there every Thursday, semester or non-semester. So at the end of this past semester, before it let out mid-May, we had people coming from all different places on the campus, coming to see us, coming to the barn with us on a Friday night. And when they went home to North Jersey and everything, hence why we're going up there, they're like, there's nothing like this for us where we're from. There's nothing like this. But we've all stayed connected via text, Instagram, and literally is IG. Instagram is everything. So, so we stay connected, and they still follow the group. and they still come out the stuff when they can.
This is where I start to feel old.
Yeah.
Like, no, you know, like, well, like, I don't know, like, because I know your dad and your mom pretty well too, Mike, and you know, it's like there's always that gap or separation of like one generation to the next generation, and like for me or for us, I should say, growing up was our parents didn't have like a lot of entertainment items. Like we had the video games, we had the TV shows and the Sunday morning cartoons and all that stuff. And, you know, they grew up, they had, you know, books and the newspaper and they had TV shows, but
they had a stick and they were happy.
They didn't have, well, they were generally an outdoor generation. You know what I mean? So they, you know, your parents probably would, you know, encourage you to get outside and be active and do things outside and stuff. But, you know, we kind of have a little bit of that bridge where I'm like, I'm technologically savvy. You know, I can get my way around a computer and stuff. I know what social media does. I don't necessarily like it.
I use social media only for the podcast and to heckle politicians enough to where they call me personally.
But like you guys have like the way we mastered like the video game generation, like, and that technological move, like where we were playing Nintendo or some of us Atari, but Nintendo, the next generation console, all the way up until modern day. And you have guys like us in our 40s, you know, playing video games at professional levels, which is odd that that's a professional.
It's an esport
that we never would have thought would have ever been a thing. But you guys grew up with like cell phones in your hands. We didn't get cell phones till we were 18. You know what I mean? Like we weren't allowed to have them.
I was 20 when I got my first cell phone.
It was just it was foreign. We weren't allowed to have them.
And it was a brick. It was a
Nokia. The only game you had,
like a weapon. It was crazy.
The Nokia. The only game you had on it was Snake.
Snake
game was fire.
Snake, or you could if you went back to your cell phone company's store, you could get them to download Lemonade Stand.
I don't know what that one was either, but but you guys,
game we played it. No, see, that's a game I played in school on the old Packard, like the big computer,
like making money or whatever.
Yeah, it's basically what it was. It was making money, and then later we played Mafia Wars on the graphic calculators.
Yeah.
Graphic calculator. It was the same thing as Lemonade Stand, but
that's creative.
But like you guys grew up with the phones in your hand and the social media applications, and like you guys had like all this interaction through that vein that you guys are like experts. Like, I mean, I know what Instagram is, but don't ask me to post something on it. I have no idea. I would like look at it for 20 minutes and be like, what do I do?
But I long lost.
That's what I mean. Like, I'm old. Like now I realize I know what it is. I know how it works, but don't ask me to be a good, like, I can't, like, for instance, you said you're connected through all the social media stuff. How often would you think that you post things on these social media sites?
For the ministry, like but during the semester, it was like an almost everyday thing. Like almost every day. Now it's like maybe twice a week, once a week. What I'm personally trying to do is I'm trying not to become like a social media plan kind of person or ministry. Because, and this is a whole other thing we can go into, but I believe that when God is in the middle of it, no matter what generation it is, He will draw the people, and that's true. That's true. So we don't have to. Our whole thing is we document what God is doing. That's it. We just do that, and then we serve people through the social media. I have one person.
Let the pictures tell the story, kind of thing.
Literally, yeah, the pictures, the videos. I have one young lady who is a dear friend. She goes on there, will attach to like Rowan like community groups on Instagram, their pages. She'll follow individual people who follow them from Rowan, and then she'll reach out, hey, I'm so and so, how can we pray for you? Not come out to our event, not that, it's just we pray for you. It could be this, could be that. They say what they need prayer for, and then she'll type a prayer in the message, and then people are blown away. I've seen the DMs, they're blown away. Christians, non-Christians, that made my day. I needed that. I'm crying. And then some people will ask, can I come? Like, do you have events? And then those are the people who will invite. But it's all about them experiencing God, experiencing love that Christians should be showing.
That's cool. It's really cool.
My question, like, because, I mean, you hear the stats. Suicides are up for the Gen Zers. A lot of them are afraid to get out and do anything, especially here in New Jersey, where a lot of people have been drinking a Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
So their parents drink it, have pulled them into this, be afraid of everything.
Mhm.
So, trust the government, be afraid of everything, and, germs will kill you, whatever. And now you get people that don't want to leave their houses. How much pain is there really going on in Gen Z? I mean, you're working with them. You're in the muck and the mire more so than we are. Not to say that we don't have anybody that would be technically considered Gen Z in our church. My son, my two oldest daughters who have bought into the gender bender ideology. But how hurting is this generation?
It is more painful than I think anyone could really imagine, because it's a weird place. So I was born in '98. So like you guys, I'm on this funny in between. I grew up without cell phones in the house until a certain point, but I always had the internet. So like there's certain things I always had online. I remember the beginnings of social media. So that becoming everyday life was really it was really interesting. So almost like being outside the glass looking in, being like, what is going on with all these kids? Like my nephew picked up a phone. He's 10 now, 9 now. He picks up he knew how to use it when he was 4. Like no one had to teach him how to use a cell phone. It's definitely scary. But working in the ministry and seeing college students, high school students, even knowing some people whose siblings are in middle school, the big issue is that in all this time of isolation in the pandemic caused a lot of like contemplation about things, where they are, like what are they supposed to do in the future. You have your parents trying to push you into the future. You have your peers that are like, we're not even doing traditional jobs anymore. We're Twitch streaming. We're the video game esports. We're going to be influencers. I can make money on TikTok. Like you even have weird things people do to make money. It's such a weird in between. So the pain level is at an all-time high because they're exposed to so much information. So much information. And there's so much that someone could, we'll talk about like bullying per se, like a middle schooler. You can get bullied online and nobody can do anything. Schools try, but you can get completely dragged through the mud on the internet. And it's by little things. It's crazy.
And that's funny because like us, and I'm sure it's the same thing with you. It's like, these keyboard warriors.
Oh yeah,
thumb muscles, all the thumb muscles.
That's a good way to put it.
You could say whatever you want on that screen. You don't know me, whatever. Like getting into arguments with people. But yeah, you're right. When it comes to online, like anybody says anything bad about a video they post or something they're doing, it's like instant panic attack, and you're not like the biggest thing. And I pulled this from my two oldest, is that they always wanted me to affirm them.
Yeah.
It was my job to affirm them. It was my job to, no matter what they were doing, I had to give them this affirmation. And the way I grew up was, it's like, it's not my job to affirm anybody, and it's not anybody's job to affirm me. It's God already affirms. I mean, yes, I am saved, so that's a plus. But they so much like, if you don't agree with me or affirm me, then you really don't love me. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
And I there is a gap. I mean, it kills me with my two oldest, because they've bought into the gender bender ideology and whatever the science wants to tell them.
This actually kind of prompts me to a question, because I think when the pandemic hit, you were in college, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah.
So, being that you had to go through, and this is kind of 2-part question, but being that I know that your campus was shut down completely, correct?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
No,
so
it was in Jersey. Everything was shut down completely.
So you went to virtual learning, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Did you see a major change in the way the education, not just the quality of the education? Because I know that that's probably 100% yes, but I would like to hear your take on it anyway. But the depreciation of the education, but also the shift in the politicization of the education. pre-pandemic to post-pandemic.
Mhm.
Did you experience that in your college? We're not going to out the college because that's
Yeah,
not
no.
my point. I'm not trying to out the college. I'm just trying to get a person who has lived through that's take as to the exchange from when you were taking classes before to when you after virtual learning and then back in class. Did you see that shift?
Yeah, so for the quality of the education at the school, in a lot of schools, like you said, 100%. The professors didn't know what they were doing at that point. They were so used to the in-person teaching, and they're like, we have to go online. At that point, it was pretty much just assignment, watch these videos, and people were just had no idea what was going on. And especially the whole, oh, we're going to be back in a couple weeks, a month, and then the semester ends, and then it's like,
Yeah.
when are we coming back, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the politicization, personally, I didn't experience a lot of that, I think, until after. I actually ended up leaving that school, not graduating, but leaving right when that's like when the semester was ending. It got shut down, like March, around May. I was like, I'm done personally, because I was working a pretty decent job. I am going to go back to school soon. But what I did notice is that in the education system, it's almost like COVID proved that one side of politics was right, especially from the president we had at the time. Like, in everything that goes wrong, oh, that person's not handling this well, so everything on the one side, on the left side, is correct. So now you could be in discussion boards online, and these things always come up. People always make it seem like if you were on any side but the left side, you're completely wrong, and COVID proves it because of the science, all these different things. That's how I experienced it. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's the experience that I had.
Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
like politically, it was like, oh, everything is right on the left side now. It's correct. And COVID kind of solidified that. And I disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I didn't want to I didn't want it to come out like as a linchpin in the argument or anything, but like to me, it's more of a validation of the generation and the hurt that comes out of it, because like now there's no, and I would say the fact that it depreciated, the fact that the educators, and I would say they got exposed. This is really what I feel like happened, because now they were forced to actually have to rely on their ability to know what they know, teach what they teach, and not read out of a book, and not go by a lesson plan, not go by these things. And their expertise was on trial during COVID, and they failed. But they weren't called on the carpet for their failure. They were covered for their failure, because it was excused under the guise of, well, they're not used to this level of teaching, like you said, or they're not used to teaching this way. They're used to interacting with the students and stuff like that. But then you get back in courses and you get back into the actual classroom and you're teaching these kids. And now it's like, well, I'm in math, I'm in algebra. Why are we talking about genders? And you can't question them. You can't ask them a question. And it's like, I don't understand what, like, to me, I feel like that's what solidified this exposure now to the education system of, like, these people are hired. They're not elected. They're not elected by a group of peers. They weren't elected by you. You know, you guys didn't, and now these people are being paid to, what's the word? I didn't even think of the word, but basically
Indoctrinate?
No, I wouldn't say indoctrinate,
Brainwash?
because Mike's proven the point. And answer this if you could, as best as you can. But how many people do you think in your generation are buying in, like percentile wise?
I genuinely believe it has to be like a firm 80%. And the only reason I wouldn't say anything more, only reason I wouldn't say more is that the good side of social media is on certain platforms like TikTok. If you follow a certain level of feed, you will end up with a lot more information than, like, some platforms are very one-sided, obviously. Others are more open. I know Twitter is more open naturally. TikTok, I have found, is more open. You can see a lot.
I've been banned more times a little bit.
Right? Now,
You've been banned for a reason.
No, banned quickly, very quickly. But it's like the type of information, a lot gets out there.
Yeah. I mean,
sure.
that's a lot of it on TikToks like that too, where if you're following a certain spectrum of things, you're going to get a lot more information on that spectrum, and you're not really going to hear a lot from the other side if you're not really watching
Well, this
it
is
and listening to it.
and this
stuff.
is where I think this is kind of cool because not that we're some special like super high end podcast here, but this is more moving in your generation now. Would you agree, Mike? Like this is where you're getting your news from. You're not watching CNN or C-SPAN or Fox News or any of those
We
things.
see a
right?
dude at a desk like, "Hey, welcome to." It's terrible. It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Yeah. You guys are watching podcast streamers. Yep. You're watching, and not just local guys or whatever, but you're probably watching some of the bigger name people or whatever, Absolutely. But like when you tie that in and you tie in the way you guys get your information through social media, the way you get this all done, do you feel like there's like this now because everything is run through social media, through the internet, through that there's this hyper reliance on the internet and social media platforms that there's this like extraction from God due to that? Because we know that landscape is very anti-God.
Yeah, 100%. Because the way that I personally see it, the internet is trying to be God. That's the way that it's set up. It's like it's where you get your information from. Mm-hmm. If you take it away, it's like, what do I do with myself? If I can't scroll, if I can't get affirmed and validated through the internet, all of the human emotions, they've perfectly been able to tie to some aspect of the internet. So yeah, they're trying to raise the internet to be God for people, 100%.
And it's being run by a couple mini gods that are telling you what to say or what you can't say.
Right.
You know what I mean? So do you feel like that's good? Do you feel like that gatekeeper is going to start coming for the church?
Oh, it already has. It already has. And it's going to be bigger though. It's going to be bigger. The fact that we're seeing the hands of who owns social media shifting, we're going to see a lot more shifting of hands. And a lot more of the you can't talk about this keyword Jesus shut down. I've seen TikToks where people are like, what was it? Oh, Lord help me. Yeah, where they could put into a search bar about hating Judaism, hating Muslims, and then a TikTok will say a banner of some kind. It's just like, hey, like, you shouldn't talk about that. You put hating Christians, all this content comes up. Like, it's very specific. We know it. There's videos of people kicking around Bibles, and even Muslims are tagging those videos and going, you wouldn't kick around my Quran. It's just, even Muslims are going, this doesn't make sense to me. Why the Christians? But we know why. So it's going to happen a lot more.
Well, I mean, it also doesn't help that for, let's just say it, for the better part, last I remember the church doing anything significant in this country was in the 90s. The early 90s, the mid 90s, the spirit was moving, even in the late 90s. But once we hit 2000, it's like the church left its huevos in a box somewhere, cut them off, and now they don't even care. It's all about as long as I can say something that tickles somebody's ear to sit up, put them in a seat. They don't believe the actual words they're preaching. They rip out half of the pages just so that they can run their church the way that they want to. And because of that, the church has been ineffective since the turn of the century, in my opinion. And it's because we've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten where we are truly citizens of, and what that means when it comes to this country. Because everybody wants to, you got to listen to government. Oh, you got to do what they say. You can't fight back. And they look at, if Christians actually were who they say they are, we would fight back. We would be fighting for the next generation harder than we are. And I mean, I love the fact that I'm not on Instagram, but I get some of the stuff that you put on Facebook and have put on Facebook. And it's good stuff. It's awesome stuff. What is something that, and I really hate to make us sound old when I say this, guys. I really do. But what is something that our generation, the older, don't care what anybody thinks about us. We hate labels, so don't put them on us. How is it that we can reach out and bridge the gap with a generation that wants nothing but labels and cares what everybody thinks? How is it that we can actually reach this generation?
That's a really good question. I would say, okay, there's a couple facets to it. what I believe is a big thing is to not try so hard. I think a lot of people in the previous generations, because they hyper focus and we got to get the young people, they try too hard. And there's one thing about our generation that we are just honed in on. It is just picking apart inauthenticity. If you're fake on any level, we're just not about it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the blessings of what God is doing with us, is that there is this level of authenticity. We are just ourselves, and it brings people so close. So I think for the other generations that are before us, to be able to just be who you are. If you have wisdom to share, share it. I know there's not a respect for people who are older than us, but I believe that the more that we can actually work together, the more that Gen Z will see the wisdom. Outside of that, I would also say, like, don't, if you're not a big social media, don't do it as much. Like, find a platform and just, like you guys, you just do your thing. People love that, and speak the truth. And then the last thing is anything with people in person, whatever, online. If somebody is completely radically different than you and they make it known, I love to be able to interact a lot with those people. Because when they oppose, it's because they're trying harder than the lazy person to find the truth. They're missing something, to look beyond what you're getting. We've had people who in the past, even with the past ministry of the church I used to be a part of, we've had someone who was trans come. We've had homosexual people come. We've had a lot of people who didn't believe come. And I believe that that's exactly who we want to come, along
Right.
with the other
Yeah.
believers.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
100%. So with that being said, the Gen Z, no matter where they are, if we just go, you know what, the Spirit and the bride say come. So just come. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. I'm going to stand on the truth, and always going to stand on the truth. And I'll help you get there if you want to get there, but I'm going to be open entirely to who you are. People will come and they'll drop a curse word. I'm like, we don't talk that way. You're just acting your nature. But when God enters the room, everything changes. So
Yeah.
just be yourselves, honestly.
And I think that has a lot to do with how we were in the past is completely different from the way it is now. Because in the past, it was Bible beating, turn or burn, and just beating into people's brains until they finally decided to come. And people don't want that nowadays.
I don't think
can't handle it,
people
man.
didn't want it then.
Yeah,
People didn't want it then.
yeah,
But they were
see,
like,
now,
they
but
didn't
they're
really want it
scared
then.
and
They came
They
in
were just scared. They were like, I'm not going. I'm going to die.
just like Mike just said, they can't handle it now.
Right.
It's,
They'll have
we
a
only went to
panic.
church because our parents would kill us if we didn't go.
Correct.
Right? That was the other
Actually,
turn
no.
turn, right?
Like, well, okay, I went to Catholic Light.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Just because I was fun being an acolyte, which is their version of altar boy. But yeah, I mean, I get it. It's not so much that we don't need to do the turn or burn, and I agree with what Mike is saying big time. Churches nowadays are not authentic.
That's correct.
They've lost who they are. You got pastors who, like I said, rip out half the Bible.
Mhm.
Look,
Because they're trying to please everybody.
I love all people, but when you got a church and the pastor the pastor's trans or gay preaching,
Can't do it.
Definitely not.
it's you're ripping out half of the Bible.
Just making sure we clarify that's not me. I just want to make sure we lay the ground line here, okay?
Dude, you would make it ugly.
I'm agreeing with you on that, but that still doesn't make it, all those statements you made already. Not me.
Although I wonder, could we make you look better than Dylan Mulvaney?
Let's not go there. Let's just not go there.
But
Come on now.
no, it's the truth. I mean, when you're not preaching, churches have left. I don't want to say doctrine, but they've lost the sight of what's the word I want to use? Theology. True, sound theology. They've lost it. They're more worried about who we can get in the seats. I can't preach that. That'll send this person out the door. Can't preach that. Oh, we have to let this person, no matter what they're doing in their life, be a part of this team because they're so popular in the church, and we'll have a split if we don't.
Yeah.
And they because, and I get it. If you're going to be that, if you can't even be authentic on what your scriptures say, of course there's a reason why that churches are, number one, looked bad at. We're fought at every corner because look, we're all hypocrites. Let's just be honest. That's why we need Jesus.
Correct.
But there's a difference between being a hypocrite, knowing you're a hypocrite, knowing that is why you need Jesus, and striving to move forward, and just blatantly going, I don't care, I am who I am. It's my truth as a pastor. Like, oh, hey, how it work? Hey, how it work, homie? And that's when you see like the church be like. I just remember when crap used to hit the fan in government. Schools used to try to do stupid things. The government would try to do stupid things. The church at one point would stand up and actually be about what it says it's about, and fight back. And now they're just like, no. If we don't comply, they'll shut us down again. No.
But see, Mike just said though, like that church isn't getting that generation either. Like that church is dying. Let's be clear.
What, the ones that fight?
No, the ones that you just described.
Not
the ones that fight, the ones that coddle and cater.
Oh yeah, they are dying
because his generation sees them as being fake churches,
and because there's so many of them, the church in America is looked at. That's the whole church.
Well,
now I agree, it's not.
But that's not the Church of America. It's not.
Now,
it's the dying church.
Now I got a question too, because in replying to like the how do I put this? So in your generation and the even newer generation, because they have so much access to everything, your past, your present, everything that you've done or have done before. Back in the day, you couldn't just look up somebody's past and find out what they did in the past. Right. Now, because they'll be like, oh, you say you're about this? Well, here's this post that you put on here like saying
17 years ago.
Yeah, that you said about this.
Well, they did it to Kevin Hart. They did it to all of them.
Do you think that actually hurts now the churches now because so many people are getting called out, like whether it be pastors or people just congregants in the church?
Yeah.
Do you think that actually hurts them, hurts the churches now because they can do all that stuff?
Oh, 100%. It hurts the churches, but what I think hurts the churches more is how pastors, evangelists, whoever, how they respond to it. I've been in places where somebody will try and call me up for something I used to do. And like, listen, I'm a pastor's kid. Like, I had a time in my life where I was wilding out. And honestly, stuff was on the internet. At the end of the day, though, when someone tries to do that, at that point, for me personally, that's when I get an opportunity to preach the gospel. Other people get insecure and defensive, and then they go, you can't. Why would you build to me? And they try to sweep it under the rug. I said, no, expose it, because you know what? I don't need the congregation. I don't need the people. All I need is Jesus, and he's the one who makes a way. And if God's hand is on this, and if this thing falls apart, then I trust God's hand. It wasn't supposed to happen. But if someone tries to call me out for something that I did, I think any pastor or anybody in a similar position needs to stand firm on the gospel and look, hey, that's who I used to be. And if they're a believer and they're doing that stuff, then it has to be addressed, because that person actually did you a favor, and you need to address that part of your life if you haven't actually addressed it.
And this is kind of cool because you're bringing up something like the access, when people have this access, and it deals with like this misunderstanding of truth, right? Mm-hmm. Because like the internet is a catalog of history, right? Oh, yeah. Basically, it's a giant catalog of history. Mm-hmm. Well, no, let's just say your personal history, right? If you have like a Facebook page or whatever, and that's your social media post, that catalogs your history since the day you started your account, all the stuff you post, said, comments, things like that. It's all logged in there, right? But that's not truth. Mm-hmm. Because what happened on the first day you signed on to Facebook and the person you are that day is not the person you are currently today, right? Mm-hmm. So like, but the problem is there's this silo that your generation has kind of been accustomed to living in, where you have this operational truth where everything that is from the concepts of the beginning to today is all included in the truth debate. Do you believe that your generation has lost sight of what actual truth is? And kind of in the sense of, I'm trying to pull a little bit here, but like they're more reliant on the knowledge side of things and not the truth side of things. Going again, scripturally speaking, how knowledge puffs up, but that room not allowing love to edify because they're so knowledge based that knowledge has become their truth.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they what happens is they take the same concept and they'll pull it to scripture. So yeah, the whole idea of, oh yeah, I saw this, or I know that I saw this YouTube video, and suddenly that becomes the paradigm that they see things through, the lens that they use. That becomes their truth for a week until they learn something else, and then they say, I evolved, when in reality you have no concept of a basis of truth. And that's exactly how the devil
And
operates. He wants everyone to be wishy-washy.
right, and that
Yeah.
erases their testimony too, because they're not ever going to give credit for what God has done in their life. They're looking to gain the credit themselves
So when
because
people are, go ahead.
they're modifying the truth. I'm sorry, I'm just taking what you're saying, but like you're as a person in the church and one who's trying to represent God and represent Christ in their life, you give credit to Christ when he has done something, right?
That's right.
But if the credit is based off of a truth that is not actually truth but knowledge, you're never going to give credit to God or Christ for what he's done because you're going to try to validate that through the knowledge bank that you have.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is like a product of, like, again, these things that your generation has to overcome. We're physical. Like, you know what I mean? Like, things that happened in our life, you physically see. Like, I'm sitting across from Steve, who's what's your sobriety day today? You're how many?
Oh, I'm almost. Yeah, I'm 7 days away
From
let's see, February. So 14 months.
14 months.
Praise God. That's amazing.
You know,
man.
it is.
Amen.
It's awesome,
Praise
and it's a
God.
testimony. But what
Praise
you see physical, like everything for us is very a physical realization. Like you see
Yeah.
people who have, depression. They're downtrodden. They're downcast. Depression in your generation, we wouldn't know you were depressed.
Mhm.
Because you hide everything through emoji, you hide everything
Yep.
through
Yep.
text message, through selfies, through all these different posts, and it seems like you guys are having the time of your life. But inside, as Nolan brought this up earlier, you're the highest suicide rate generation,
Mhm.
and it's like this is like it's obviously a product of depression, but the depression is hidden behind this knowledge bank that you're trying to I if I do this, or if I put I know very little, but I know Instagram models are a thing.
Yes.
And that these people are the saddest people on the planet, but they have millions of
Yeah.
people who like them and follow them, and they feel like that's their sustenance, that's their sufficiency. But
Mhm.
we know that you're only satisfied and sufficient in Christ. But that being said, this is stuff your generation has to overcome. And I think my question now to you is it's kind of a bridge from Nolan, but a little bit more deeper. How can we help you bridge
Mhm.
that? Because our job now is, as that generation in front of you, is to try and build a bridge to help you guys win those battles in the trenches, win those battles that are out there that we might not be able to understand exactly what you're doing or what you're going through because we didn't live through the same things as you. But it doesn't mean no different than your dad can help you when you're on hard times.
Yeah.
He can help you because he knows a little bit more. He's been through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's something here that we can help. We can help this generation. But I think the bigger part of the question is really, how can we?
Mhm. So to go off of what you were saying before, what I'm feeling is even through like how we can mask our emotions, and or even I notice people will over display. I think that's what it is now. They'll over display their emotions when they're feeling some type of way. They will grab their tripod and their phone and their ring light, and they'll set it up and they'll record a reel, a TikTok, and like act something out that displays how they feel and then get a bunch of likes. To me, it's actually one of the craziest things. People
Yeah.
actually go and like, oh, having my time with the Lord. And I'm like, you just pulled out your Bible, set up your ring light and camera to pretend to study to be able to post something. And whether or not you studied, it's just weird to me. So even looking at with your question, how can you? Everything for our generation is plaster. If you don't post it, it's not real. I can tell somebody that God has been doing so much in my life, but if the person next to me has not much going on, but they're posting about Jesus and all these things, and they're making reels and everything and videos and TikToks, they're more apt to believe them than me just because I didn't post it. So now on the other side of it, I go, okay, If our generation wants everything to be for show, the generation before us needs to show everything by action, even off the internet. I believe is powerful is for someone to know that you guys stand for the Bible, you stand with Jesus, you stand firm as the church. And but when they see you different places or at events or whatever it is, that you are just so out of your way to love and to just talk to them and just to be there and just to listen. And when they start scratching their heads like, no, I thought church people were a certain way, but these guys aren't like that. Even within the
Right.
generation, people have that experience with me and some of my friends and some of our people. They're like, we didn't expect that. We go out of our way. We just give things away to people. We put money, just give things away. We'll just go at just whatever you need, we're gonna do it. Just like the Bible says that believers are supposed to be doing. We just extend it. And I think when
Yeah.
people get the real, their authenticity alarm goes off and goes, wow, I've heard people say that the Bible's about love and Jesus. I haven't seen it in the church, but these guys, they have something. I'm seeing experiencing love that I can't quantify or understand. And that's when they attach. That's the experience that we've had, and I genuinely believe it's cross generational. Because the love of Christ will always be cross generational, as we know. So when you show it, I believe it's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have a lot with the people that I work with as a butcher. I have a lot of younger guys with me,
Yeah.
and they all assume that church people and believers are a certain way, and I'm like, listen, I'm not like what you guys think that I am. I am not somebody who's like, oh, I'm such a perfect person. No, I am flawed just as much as anybody else is.
Yep.
The difference is I have Jesus in my life
Forgiven.
for forgiveness.
Yep.
And I go to him every time I mess up. That's the difference. And I was like, I'm not here judging your life and your way of living. That's not my job. My job is to love you through whatever you're going through. And people are like, really? You just love people in general? Like no matter what they're doing? I said, yeah, my sister was a lesbian for 17 years.
Mhm.
And I loved her every second of those 17 years and still do. And it's not about what your lifestyle is. It's about loving you through Christ. And it's so true. You were talking about, the kids, on the internet, how they gain everything from that, and they see, oh yeah, well, you're posting all these things about Jesus on Instagram and whatnot. And I do the same thing with my personal TikToks. Is that I leave all the alcoholism TikToks that I have. It's still on my account because that's part of who I was.
Right.
And now people see the posts that I post now. And it is, I mean, I literally had one that just came up. They had these things on TikTok where it says, on this day,
A year
this
ago,
year,
yeah.
And it's like, I look at those TikToks, I'm like, wow, I was like that?
Yeah.
I was like that not that long ago? Yeah. Yeah, I was. And it's I think it's a small testimony, to show to people like, hey, listen, if I can change, when I didn't think that I had any shot, I had no shot of becoming sober. My whole family lineage is around alcohol. And it was such a hard thing for me to even try to do. And I was like, that's my problem. I was trying instead of letting God handle my situation,
Yeah.
giving it to God and knowing that He has it. I have no weight on my shoulders with alcohol anymore. Praise be to God.
Yeah. Amen.
That's so true, man. That's so big. And you know what? A lot of the biggest thing that is being talked about once again more now that hasn't been, especially in groups like ours and in some small pockets of churches and then in some larger pockets, but no one really in the middle, is actually the truth of the fact that the devil is very real
Yeah.
and that demons
Facts.
are very real and that there are assignments against everybody who's on this planet, especially against Christians, especially against believers. So when we see the young generation who even grew up in some variation of church, but the problem with a lot of churches is God's presence is not resting there. Like it
That's
says
right.
in First
Yeah.
Corinthians 3:16, don't you know that you, that word you in the Greek the first time is plural. Like, don't you know that you're where the God's Spirit dwells? Like, this congregation of the Church of Corinth, and all congregations should be the same. It would stand to reason that if God's presence is not there, we really can't call this church. We really
Oh
can't.
yeah.
Yeah.
We can call it a gathering of people, but it's not church. So if that's the case, when people come broken, they leave broken. They'll leave happy with a booster shot of energy. They'll be vaccinated. Here we go. They'll be vaccinated from their problem, but the problem is never truly solved. They're still infected. So it's like, okay, we need to actually make sure that God is at the forefront. His presence is there, no matter what it looks like. Because people, like you mentioned, I forgot the guy's name. What's his name? Who was talking in the background?
Steve.
Steve. I'm so sorry, Steve.
No, you're fine, Mike.
bet you, Steve. So, but just like you were saying, Steve, about like how this was, it was a generational curse on your family, alcoholism. But you let God come in and cleanse you and break the chain. There are
That's right.
so many generational curses that need to be addressed in lineages, in families. And the devil's trying to get all the next generation to the place where they're so dependent on him. The devil will cause the problem, and then he'll masquerade as an angel of the light and try to be the solution. And that's where the cycle just goes and goes. And then everyone
Sounds like the government.
wow, right?
create a problem that nobody has so that they can give you a solution that nobody needs.
You know what? But this is actually really cool because you brought up something, and I think that's kind of unique, Mike, is about like knowing there's an enemy that prowls around like a lion, looking for. It's this concept of understanding that and seeing how it's actually on display right before us. We've talked about the pandemic. We talked about how you could see currently how biased the news is and how the truth is not there anymore. It's literally objective,
and how the truth is not.
It's not objective anymore. It's propaganda. It's really what it is. It's just borderline. It's not even borderline.
No, it's not borderline anymore. It's straight propaganda.
And but we live in a country where we say there's freedom of press, freedom of speech, all these things, and you have a church that, well, I should say you have two churches. You have a church that is buying and selling the propaganda as much as it's being put out there,
because you might get shut down.
But the real church in America, the one that I would say I identify as part of, and I believe you as well.
Oh boy, here he goes identifying things.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Hey, you guys like labels, so why not? But no, but here's an interesting fact though, because you're dealing with now this process of how we are in a position, the church is in a position, and I don't mean a building, I mean the people. So
the building is not the church.
I understand. I'm just clarifying for the people who are watching. There are people watching.
Yes.
So when you have this concept of a church, then you have the people in this function now, as far as combating the enemy, combating the liar, combating the deceiver in the fields of battle, right? Which are currently now on the internet, social medias, all these different platforms that are available, right? What do you do? Because we grew up in an era where these people that would be church people, okay, would televise their ministry as they were being conduits for God's power to move mightily through them. And this became such a flare that it became these very, very, very stereotypical looking people that would get on stage and make all these hoots and hollers and all this showmanship that was going on. We call them televangelists. I don't know if you've heard that term before.
I've heard the term, yeah.
And these guys were, I don't want to say they were phony or fake, but I
don't know how fake they were, but I know the message was fake.
I was not there to receive any of the miraculous acts that were going on at the time. But I watched these shows and I saw them, and I'm like, this is what the church is like. This is ridiculous. This looks like a circus. But now I see this as kind of like springing back up, because you have ministries, you have big name ministries that are showing and putting their church service, well, I should say their church service, but these big services on YouTube of healings, of miraculous healings, of people being set free from bondage, of being cured from cancer, of being having their like deformities healed, having disorders, literal like disorders healed miraculously by the hand of God. Where do you see God fitting into this social media as far as that is concerned? And how do you believe your generation would receive it, given our generation would have received it as phony? Like if we saw churches today
Yeah, we
posting
would
this
say
stuff,
that was
we
fake.
would be like,
Look,
this
with
is
the fact
just
that
ridiculous.
the fact that Chat AI, GBT, whatever the heck it's called, you could tell it that you like it could deep fake crap now.
Yeah.
So the fact that on social media with all the technology, yes, there could very well be a church that had that prayed for somebody, a pastor prays for somebody, and somebody just happened to catch it on video of them being healed.
Well, I'm saying, what about it just intentional? Like, what about the church's intentionality?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that because everybody, our generation, everybody's generation knows that it is easier to deep fake things now. How, like, I wouldn't even believe half of the crap that would be done.
All right, but here, I'm gonna, because I really want to hear Mike's answer, but I also really want to I'm gonna go really dark with it just for a minute.
Go ahead,
but
man.
just to give you a really deep shift of understanding where I'm at, we understand the internet is literally so evil and wicked. It is 90% pornography.
Yes.
100%.
And it's 100% now.
100%.
So, but no,
just don't type in AbrahamLincoln.com.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's filled with nothing but this filth and disgusting nature of pulling on lust and pulling on the evil, wicked hearts of man to just lust after women or women after women or whatever it is, that it sets this this perversity in this generation to be even more gratifying to that, right? And we know how evil it really is. What do you say about having the presence of God infest the internet so much that people are logging on and getting on websites and going online to see miraculous works, healings, these manifestations of God moving in power and might, that people are getting set free from all kinds of addictions and all kinds of stuff, that can overtake something as evil and vile as the pornography industry? Is this viable, or is this setting us up for another great fall that we were witnessing in our generation of the televangelist movement?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'll put it this way. I think there's really two major things that the devil really, really wants to do and is doing and has been doing for years to really break up people from God, and it's destroying family.
Yep.
And
we talked about that a bunch of times here.
Yep. And creating as many distractions as possible.
Oh, man.
On the flip side, what I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I think you guys had that can't even get any of is silence. Silence enough to sit alone and spend time with God. I have conversations with my people all the time and my friends, and I see it. We can't even pray long enough without some kind of intrusive thought linking into your brain, distracting you from prayer.
100%.
So we can't even have time to think. I actually had a conversation with a young man I met in the street. I was at work. I won't tell the whole story. It was long, but he skipped school. He was smoking, and I went up and I just felt the Lord was pressing me just to talk to him. We had this nice long conversation. He's a troublemaker at school. He left school, and then we prayed together. But in the conversation, I asked him why he left school. He said, I got ADHD, all this stuff. I asked him, how's everything at home? And then he said he kind of broke down, told me some stuff. And then I asked him again, okay, so why did you really leave school? And then he says he hears voices in his head, literally voices telling him to fight kids, to hurt himself. He has cuts all up and down his arms. He was hearing these voices telling him to do these kids, and he's following them. So knowing he's not a believer, I believe in the legality and the spirit. When we prayed, I just prayed for God would show him a touch of peace. This kid hugged me so tight, I felt the warmth of God in the moment. He hugged me so tight, he nuzzled in my neck. You would have thought he was like a family member. this kid just felt the peace of God. Nothing I did, the peace of God.
Right.
I believe for a moment he felt silence.
Yeah, and see,
Like he did.
that is flipping awesome. But that speaks to some. I don't know. I don't remember if it was Crowder or if it was somebody else I was watching. That girl that was on. I can't even remember it. Umbrella Corporation. She's now a dude.
Oh, the Umbrella
Paige.
Academy. Yeah.
Page.
Elliot Page.
Ellen Page.
Well, yeah, it's really Ellen Page. But she, in her memoir, stated the whole reason why she switched from female to male and got the surgeries was because voices in her head told her to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And we have accepted the voices. We have decided to medicate the voices. And I don't know how y'all feel about pharmaceuticals, but that's a whole other can of worms. Yep.
That's a big problem in your generation too.
Yep.
It's a huge problem.
Medicating with more, and I'm just going to call it what it is. You're medicating demons with more demons.
Right.
It's exactly what it is. And it works together and it makes things worse.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are actual legit reasons
100%
for medication. Imbalances, such.
Yep.
But they're far fewer than what they're prescribing.
100%.
We grew up in the generation where ADHD was a popular thing. Timmy won't sit still in class. Well, maybe if you weren't boring, he'd be fine. But no, because Timmy is a little rambunctious as a boy, because boys can be. We're gonna hop him full of Ritalin, and now he's domicile.
And today they won't even tell their parents either. They'll just do it.
Yeah. And that's even worse.
Which is, again, that's a chain that came out of the pandemic, because this whole concept of the government's ability to tell parents what they're going to do with your kids, not, oh, you need to tell your kids what to do, parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, the message went right past the parents, went right to the kids, and the enforcers of the school did what they told them to do.
Joe Biden, our illustrious former VP Poopy Pants himself has made it known his entire
you're not your kids.
They're our kids.
No, they're not.
They're our kids. They're the school's kids. They're our kids. No, they're my kids. And they've twisted.
They come for my kids. I'm going to take Joe Biden's advice and get my shotgun. Fire 2 shots.
Are you going to shoot it in the air? You're a desk pop,
but which I will probably get arrested for doing, because it's illegal to do that.
But yeah, it's that you hear them saying it. The teachers say it. They're our kids. I love my kids. They ain't your kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my kid. You have a job to do. Now do it. Stop all the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I could sit here and talk for hours on this. This has been fantastic. We might actually have to do another episode down the road on this. It's good having you on here. We're hitting the hour mark.
We're hitting that pinch mark.
That hour mark, right?
we try to keep it. We try thinking of the younger generation and their short attention spans. We try to keep it to 45 minutes to an hour. We do have episodes that go longer, but this is a nice spot to end this. I do want to thank you big time for coming on here. And before we sign off, where can people find your group? Like social media, email address, whatever. What do you got for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So for Instagram, it's free and faith _free and faith is where you'll find us. You just put free and faith in the search and you'll be able to find us. Email freeandfaith317@gmail.com. And if you just want to straight up look for me, it's the Mike Beckford on Instagram. And then lastly, I just want to thank God for the opportunity to be here. Thank God for what he's doing in the ministry in this generation. We know the time is short. And I also want to thank the people, and you saw the comments a little bit, the people who are my friends, and they're just fantastic because God is leading all of us. So I just want to put a big thanks out there for everybody and what it is that they're doing, and most importantly, what God is doing.
So, amen to that. Guy, those of you who've been listening to us for a while, been watching us for a while, you know where to see us. There's a link tree in the bio, in the description of this stuff. And you can get everything you need to see, email address if you have prayer requests. And we extend this out to your group as well. If you have prayer requests, go into the link tree that is in the description. Get to the Church and State email address. Give us your prayer requests. We want to lock arms in prayer for everybody for as many people as will let us.
Right.
We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
We're not going to mention on air what it is you asked. We're just going to pray.
Yep.
So please do that. As always, I'm on Clapper. I'm on Twitter.
I'm not on any of those.
He's not on any of that. If you want to get in touch with this man as a pastor,
show up on Sunday.
No.
Carrier pigeon to kind of,
No, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad.
Again, in the link tree, look, I've gotten semi-savvy. Everything's in the link tree. In the link tree is our church's email address. If you have any questions for this man who is a pastor who would love to talk, minister to people, look, if you have any questions, gladly he will be happy to read your emails and to answer them as best as he can. Also, for everybody out there in the Yuba Tuba and on audio, if you need a church, if you need somewhere to be on, if you're in South Jersey and got nothing better to do on a Sunday morning around 10 o'clock, look up the church address again on the church website that's in our link tree and come on out. And absolutely, we would welcome you in open arms.
Hey, come experience what God's doing.
I think we lost Mike, or he bounced out a little early, but I'm so glad that Mike came on here. We will have him on here again.
Absolutely.
We have known him for years. His dad actually came into our church when
Dad's a good man.
when our pastor was going through. He forgot. He pulled a U. He forgot to plug in his pooter. We love you, Mike. It's all right. It's all right.
It's okay.
We won't. We might poke fun at you a little bit after, but we still love you.
No.
It happens to the best of us. It happened to us.
It
Happened
did.
to us.
5 minutes
In
midstream. 5 minutes of dead blackness. Yeah. So we will have you. We thank you again, Mike. Thank you for everybody who knows Mike, who joined us in this live. Please share this.
Absolutely.
And if you do like what we do, go back and look at our older videos. If you do like what we do, what we talk about, and how we bring out not only the message of truth when it comes to the lies in government and everything else, but also the truth of Christ, then we would ask that you like us, follow us, share us.
Man, come on.
What?
You missed it.
What?
Missed it.
What did I miss?
The whole point and the name of this is the church and state.
The
The
church
reason
and
why is because the biggest issue right now is the lack of involvement of the church in the affairs of the state.
Yes.
And you know what? What we are trying to do is educate people on the role of the church. If you're not part of a church and you're super political, whether you're left or right, doesn't matter. You need to be in the church because you need to hear what God's saying, because God's the only author, right? Only
He created
author
government.
of not just government, but of right and wrong,
Yep.
of morals. And government is supposed to protect the morals, right? They're supposed to be the upstanding force of morals. So the church has to hold government accountable to what's right and wrong. So regardless of where you stand, it doesn't matter. You need to be in the church.
Yes.
And if you are in the church and you go, oh, well, church shouldn't be political. No, they shouldn't be political per se, as far as preaching politically.
No,
But
no, I will actually say this, and I've heard this said by other people that I have come to read their books and everything else as of late, that proved I wasn't nuts for what I believe. To be a Christian is to be political, because everything that is about us will go against everything that is against God. I think he came back. Is he coming back?
Let's see.
But
this was a little bit of a what do they call it? Where you're delaying.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to bring it back in.
See if we can get him back in. Maybe not.
But again, please share this. We talk about all kinds of topics. We want Christians to be armed, because for so long, we had people leave our church because one time he did a sermon that semi-mentioned political things. Yeah. There you go. All right, you found the plug.
Hey, my computer died, and I was like, "No, I had to find it." I thought that was I am so sorry. I'm running around.
No,
it's okay.
You had it happen
We
to
got to
us.
say goodbye.
Midstream the computer died because our producer forgot to plug it in.
I don't know what you're talking about. Listen, I don't get paid enough.
Neither do I.
There we go.
In fact, I think I pay for us to be able to do this. But no, we want to thank you. We want to thank your people that actually showed up, and we do ask. Look, I'm gonna be sharing your stuff. I'm gonna put some things up on Facebook and what little bit of a following that I have in different areas to send people your way. It's awesome what you're doing. I love that you're not afraid to battle what others are just easy to dismiss.
Yep.
And that's an awesome thing. So again, we've given everybody out there in the Yuba Tubaverse and on the audio, you know where to get the information. Now that you have it, what you do with it is your choice. And in 2 weeks, we will be back here with another episode.
Wait. You do know 2 weeks from now is 4th of July.
Is that on a Tuesday?
Yes, it is. So
okay. No, we may be here 2 weeks, but it might be on a Monday.
Well, you may still see us. You may not, but just be aware. It's 4th of July. It's Independence Day.
I think we planned that on purpose.
Yeah, we might be on. You're just saying. Go celebrate your independence on the 4th of July.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen to that, and celebrate the independence that God has given us in the government that we have, which is the closest thing.
Messed up. It's still better than anywhere else.
Well, in its original founding, was the closest thing to God's original government than any other government had gotten to.
Yeah, God bless.
Because God never wanted kings. God never wanted kings. He warned the people, read the Old Testament. He said, you can get a king. You're going to get all this bad crap. And they said, we don't care. We want a king. and you see where we are now.
People always know what they want.
And God is such a gentleman that he'll let you learn the lesson the hard way.
He'll let you choke on the ravens.
But, brother, you have a good one. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Steve, Gary, thank you for coming on. And those of you tuning in, thank you for joining us at the corner of church and state where there is no separation. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Peace.
God bless.
Thanks.
Can't help it, I just seem to see the world different. It ain't Republicans or labor rules, it's mental illness. The internet is only interested in left opinions. Cancel culture's got more power lately than the First Amendment. If you don't like it, leave. We will not defund police. We don't want no riots in our neighborhoods or in the streets. We respect freedom of speech. We protect what we believe. We don't want nobody dead, so please do not tread on me. In America,